Well, hello again, and welcome once more to the Invisible College. My name is Adrian Gilbert, and we've been doing this now for several years now. I think it must be about 3 years, and we've broken the barrier, and we've got well over 4,000 views now, and 4,000 hours, I should say, of views. Many more views than that, because a lot of people don't stay till the end. I can't think why, but perhaps it's because I do such long videos normally. But this one's going to be quite short, so you should be able to get through to the end all right. Yes, we've reached that point, and now this is a fully fledged channel, and YouTube are actually recommending it. Downside, you're getting adverts with it, but I'm sorry about that. But if they don't get money through adverts, they're not going to take the channel seriously and recommend it, so we have to live with that. Anyway, this talk I'm going to do arose really out of a comment on one of my other programs I put up by a gentleman talking about meditation and how he finds it difficult to meditate, to empty his mind and to do the right thing and go into this transcendental state or whatever. And I thought about this, and I thought, yes, this will be a problem, because you see, what people take as being meditation these days is really Eastern meditation, but adjusted for the West. You read all these books on meditation and yoga and Buddhism and so forth, and they tell you, and the guru in his long robes and his long beard, and he tells you to sit still in the lotus position, or if you can't manage that, just sit on a chair and empty your mind, and stop thinking, empty your mind. And of course you can't do that, because the mind doesn't work that way. The mind likes to be fixed on something to think about. And you just empty your mind. What is actually going to happen if you were successful? And you're not going to be successful. But if you were, that's an open invitation to demons to move into you. The emptying of yourself, you're losing yourself, you're losing all the consciousness of yourself. Something else is going to come into you. And that brought me to another horrific communication I received from another member who lives in San Francisco. And this person was talking about the videos they'd seen. There's a guy out there, I'm not going to give you the details because I don't want to be upsetting for you, but this guy goes around making films of all the homeless, the down and outs, the drug dealers, drug addicts, I should say more, the transsexuals, the prostitutes, and he interviews these people and gets them talking to him, and sometimes quite long interviews. And when you watch these, it's horrific, because you can literally see how these people are demonically possessed. Now, if you haven't watched the video I put up again, it's actually an old one, but I've renewed it and put up again, called No Sympathy for the Devil. And that I only did a couple of days ago. That's how this conversation came up. And in that I was talking about demonic possession, and if you think there's no such thing as demons, you can't be a Christian, because Jesus Christ, we're told in the Gospels, everywhere he went, he was casting out demons, sometimes even into pigs, and they go running off the cliff. You remember that? But he was well known as a demon caster-outer, an exorcist, if you like. So there are these demons, demonic forces in the world, and we need to be aware of that. And we need to protect ourselves against that. And the last thing you want to do is to get yourself into a drug addict situation, because that leaves all the portals wide open, and you're going to get infestation with, like getting body lice or something, or ticks. These things will stick onto you, and you've got to, if you don't keep your lifestyle up to a certain level, have standards. You have to have standards. And those standards have to be, you will not go below them. You will not start shooting up heroin. You will not put cocaine up your nose. You will not, actually, if you've got any sense, smoke cannabis. Because these things open up portals that these demonic forces can get into you and start taking you over. And the fact that the world is so messed up, the Western world at the moment, is very much down to demonic possession of a lot of people. And you need to be on the guard for that. It can be the down and outs type. It can also be the other type, the Mephistophelian, signing a contract, a Faustian contract with Mephistopheles, or Satan if you like, to give you wealth, power, influence, women, riches, everything you want in this world in exchange for your soul. And you say, well, I haven't got a soul, I don't believe in it. Someone's going to give me all that. Yeah, bring it on. Well, I think there's a lot of billionaires in that category and other people, that are running this world in the background. It's not going to do them any good in the long term. They think it is, but it's not. So you've got to be aware of these things. But that's not why I'm talking to you today. I wanted to talk to you about meditation. And as I see it, in the Eastern way, meditation, they don't teach you the whole thing. If you were living in India and you were Hindu, say, and you were taking up meditation, you wouldn't just be emptying your mind, you would be also praying towards a divinity. It might be one with 6 arms, or elephant head, or whoever, blue skin. You would be praying to connect with this divine personage, or what you would believe to be a divine personage. And you might also be connecting with your guru's lineage. And your guru's lineage actually might be demonic. And there's a lot of, believe me, there's a lot of demons working in these areas. They do this. It's like paedophiles go looking for situations where they can work with children. They become involved with the Scouts movement, for instance. Or they get involved with children's charities, or they look for opportunities where they can get in touch, in contact with those they desire. So, and I think there are guidelines against that happening, but it does happen. And it's the same with these demons looking for people who are opening themselves up through gurus. And you might have a guru who's demonically possessed himself, and he has certain powers because of that. And the people look at him, a very holy man, he has these powers. It's not that, it's the demon working through him. And when he's old and he dies, they hop into the next one. You get lineages like this. Now, the Western way is very different from this. And the Western way is all about coming into contact with God through Jesus Christ, usually, but it can be direct to God himself. And you pray. You don't just empty your mind, you pray. So I'm going to take you into, I've got a couple of little images I want to show you here about, taken from my favourite author, Robert Flood. We've done some of his stuff before, and he was a remarkable man. He wrote a lot about some things like meditation and opening up the higher chakras in the brain. He was writing in the 17th century, 1620, around that period. So this is our own tradition, and it's a Christian tradition, and I want to bring to your attention some of what he had to say on this subject. So, without more ado, can I do that? Yes. Now, you've seen this image before. It's called in Latin, Integra Natura Speculum Artisque Imago. And that translated into English means mirror of the whole of nature and in the image of art. Right. And you've seen this picture before. It's got the whole universe. It's got Mother Nature there standing on a globe, the the elements beneath her, the kingdoms, the animal kingdom, the vegetable, mineral, her feeding nature from her breast, and holding the intelligent ape, symbolic of man, by a leash. We've done that before, but that's not what I want to look at this time. So the Latin for mirror is speculum. So speculation literally means looking into a mirror. What happens when you look into a mirror? You see yourself. That's the first thing you do. You know, look into a mirror. You can see that spot on your nose that you couldn't see yourself anyway. Someone else could see it, but you look into a mirror to see yourself. So the image you're looking at is the reflection of what can't be seen within you, and that is part of what meditation in the Western sense is all about. Is about seeing yourself reflected in other situations. And in the old days, I suppose it happens now, they often used to use a crystal ball. I bought this one in Mexico because I thought it's got a rather beautiful pattern on the top of it. It's made of natural volcanic glass. But people used to get that in the 17th century from Mexico, and they would make mirrors out of it. You heard of the saying, looking into a mirror is darkly. Well, they would have a mirror or maybe a crystal ball like this, and they would look into that as their speculum and try to see what was in their mind, what was going on in the back of their mind that they couldn't see. And that's what looking into a crystal ball is really all about. Not that I do that. I got that as I thought it was a nice souvenir to bring back from Mexico. But that's what they used to do. So the idea of the speculum is to see what can't be seen that's in your mind. And he's saying here it's to do art. So this image is a work of art derived from Robert Flood's speculations about the true role of nature. As I say, I'm not going to talk about nature at this point. The mirror he uses is his own mind, which reflects artistic images from the unconscious for him to review in consciousness. In other words, that's what you're trying to do in the Western form of meditation. You're trying to make conscious what's unconscious. And in his case, for art. Imagination is the ability to form images in the mind's eye. So I want you to take that on board, that we talk about imagination. He's got no imagination, or she lives in her imagination. It's our ability, and it's a very particular thing that human beings have, the ability to visualize things, to make images in the mind of things that don't actually exist. And one purpose of that is to make thought forms of what you would like to exist. Now, I'm not going to go down that path here, and be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you imagine. It might come true, and you might find it's actually not what you want. But you've seen all these books, get rich quick books, you know. All these particularly Americans, I suppose we have them here too, but especially you'll find books by American authors telling you how you can be wealthy. You should be rich. Everyone, there's a huge pot of money out there. It's only because you're not thinking right that you're not rich, you're poor. So think right, think of yourself as being rich and feel it, believe it, and it will come true. That's actually not a good doctrine. And the reason for that is that might be not why you came into this life. You might have come into this life to experience what it's like being rich, but most of us come into this life to experience other things, and among those might be learning to live within your means, learning to live without a lot of wealth. You might be here to experience quite other situations, being self-sufficient, or things like that. So it's not necessarily a good thing to be rich. And I can give you an example of that. when I was way back in the early 70s, I was in California, and I'd been hitchhiking. I'd flown to Oregon, and I'd hitchhiked down to California, and I was in Los Angeles, and my money was running out. I had only $30 left, and I had a plane ticket home to England from New York. Trouble is, I was in Los Angeles, and a whole continent in between me and where I could use my ticket. There was only one thing to do, and that was to get out and thumb lifts. And I hitchhiked my way back. I hitched to Chicago and up to Wisconsin, and I stayed there over the winter with friends. And eventually, when the spring came, we all went together to New York. I had an open ticket, and I was able to fly home. Now, had I had the money in Los Angeles, I would have undoubtedly taken a plane from Los Angeles to New York and flown there back home 6 months earlier. Because I didn't have that money, I had a whole range of other experiences. I met people on the road, I experienced life in Wisconsin in the winter. These things I would never have done otherwise. So, because I didn't have money, it opened other possibilities. Possibilities of having to be dependent on hitchhiking and the vulnerability you feel, but also the sense of it's a very good way of actually connecting with your guides, with your guardian angels, if you like. So that's by the by. Don't always visualize just wanting money and power. That's not necessarily what you're here for. So imagination is the ability to form images in the mind's eye. What he has discovered through this is flood. What he has discovered through contemplation of what he has imagined, he records on paper as this remarkable picture. This is true art, as opposed to false art of random daubs with a brush. So the true artist uses his imagination, his ability to visualize, and he also connects through the mirror of the mind, the speculum, with what the creative power inside that, belonging to the higher levels, but manifesting down into his mind, putting the images into his mind. That's how creativity happens. So you have the Michelangelo of this world saying he took a block of marble and he visualized the David, and all he had to do was chip away at the marble to free the David that was already there. This is how true art happens, and it's actually how all arts happen. Music, poetry. I find it when I'm writing books. The inspiration comes. This is how you connect with the muse. The muse gives you the images. And then through your imagination you can see that you conceive the thing you want to execute into physicality. So this is more the Western approach. It's not just emptying your mind and that's it, or filling it up with an Indian guru figure or an Indian god. It's about releasing the more creative parts of your mind. Now the other side to that, Flood gives another diagram here. And this is about prayer. And now I know you probably all experience prayer at some time or other. You probably hate going to church and kneeling down in church and having to read these prayers out of the book and everybody's saying the same prayer together. Maybe you do like it. It doesn't do much for me. But true prayer is actually having a conversation with God, or if you prefer, with Jesus Christ as an intermediary. Now, when you first try that, it's going to be one-sided conversation. It's going to be you doing the talking, you doing the recognition that you have a creator for a start. And don't imagine this whole nature just self-created itself, lifting itself up by its bootstraps. That's lies. The whole doctrine of evolution through random chance, coupled with survival of the fittest, It's complete nonsense. And you know it's nonsense. That's not how things work. Creating something like a mouse is an incredible creation, and it doesn't just happen by chance. It happens because someone designs it. Some intelligence designs it, and makes that body, and puts life force into it, and then you have a mouse. It's the same with your body. So understand that you do have a creator, and not only your body has a creator, so does your soul and your spirit. So you need to be in recognition of the fact that you're not on top of the tree. You're not the peak of creation. You're somewhere down here, and there's all that above you. So you need to be aware of that and understand your position. And that's why the guy is kneeling down in this image. Kneeling is the human equivalent of a dog lying on its back. You know when you have a dog and you tell it, you show it who's boss, and it lies on its back with its paws up. That's a submission posture. The dog saying to you, I recognize that you're the boss. Yeah, you're the top dog. I'm leaving myself vulnerable. Were you to wish it, top dog, you could bite my throat and kill me. Here I am in submission. And the top dog says, right, that's my guy. He's obedient. Well, for humans to kneel down, it's the same thing. It's the same when you kneel in front of a king. You want to be made a knight, right? And the king's got this dirty great big sword, and he's going to dub you on your shoulders. Arise, Sir Adrian, or whoever. Now he could equally with the sword chop your head off. So it is actually a submission posture. And when people kneel down in front of someone else, it's actually submitting to them. So you're submitting yourself to God by kneeling down. That's why they have prayers kneeling down in church. Now, I'm not saying you need to be doing that. We are having a conversation. But that's what this image is saying here. Now, to carry on here, King David, who ruled over all of Israel in the first half of the 10th century, was a soldier, clairvoyant, prophet, poet, musician, and singer, as well as being a ruler. I mean, he has a lot on his plate, didn't he? Composing all those psalms and fighting battles, playing the harp, and every now and then he goes off and he has a word with God, and God talks back to him. He gets messages. Yeah, he's clairvoyant. He's able to receive guidance. So he was quite a guy, and here he is kneeling down in front of God, the eye of God there with the wings outstretched. This image, also from Robert Flood, shows King David praying to God. He's on his knees supplicating for help and protection. That's what he's doing there. The act of kneeling is a demonstration of submission and fealty. It is the human equivalent to a dog turning over on its back to show that it accepts the dominion of a superior dog or human in the pecking order. Well, you've all seen that with dogs, I'm sure. The words David is saying or singing come from Psalm 63 verse 7. And that's the inscription you can see coming out of his mouth. And it says in English, it says, "In the shadow of your wings I will sing for joy." And to be under God's wings is to have his protection. And we should all want this. Now, I was talking about demonic possession. And demons will not come near you if they think they know that you have protection. It's like gangsters. Gangsters are not going to work a protection racket on someone who's got armed guards or with more powerful weapons than they've got. They'll back off. And so you need to be looking for the protection of the higher divine. You've got at least one guardian angel looking after you, but you can have a whole regiment if needs be. And you can also be connected to the Jesus Christ, if you believe in the way, the truth and the light, it's manifested through the Gospels and through his teachings, you will become one of his people and he will protect you. If you say, well, I don't believe in him, it's all a load of nonsense, he didn't exist, but cook the books, it was just an invention, he didn't die on the cross anyway, if he even existed, they just stole his body away and pretended. If that's your attitude, don't expect any protection. And if you don't have protection, you're going to get into a lot of trouble in this world. Believe me, you are. And even more so, the times we're coming into now. I told you it's the apocalypse, we're living in it. Don't believe in the apocalypse? Look at what's happening in America, San Francisco, LA, these riots, these cities being turned into dung heaps. It's, yeah, you're living at the end of an age, and things are going to happen now. There's crazy war going on in Ukraine. Who would have thought it? Yeah? This madman in the Kremlin starting a war against his closest friends. The Russians' closest friends were the Ukrainians. They start a war against it. A bit like France deciding they're going to invade Britain because the Normans used to own it. Madness. But that is the world we live in. And you need to be connected, if you possibly can, to higher forces. And I'm trying to help you to do that through these lectures, one way or another. So that I wanted to put to you is try to start taking time out to talk to God, talk to Jesus Christ. You won't hear anything back initially, but in time, if you're persistent, you'll start to get understandings coming to you. It won't necessarily come back to you in words. You won't necessarily have a voice in your head saying, "Hey, hi Adrian, how are you doing?" It won't necessarily be. It might be like that, but it won't necessarily be. It might be that things happen. The right book comes into your hands at the right time. You meet someone, they say something very important that you suddenly understand. Or an idea comes into your head for some creative work that you know, or new direction that you should take with your employment. Or you meet the love of your life. These things happen. And they'll happen much more if you're looking for help and with the divine, with God and with Jesus Christ, the angels, looking for help and admitting that you are not God yourself. Admitting that you are a created being of God. You have a fragment of God in you, yes. But you yourself were not the creator of all this. The higher intelligence was, and you wish to reconnect. So that's all I wanted to say today. So thank you very much for listening. I said it was going to be a short one, and I look forward to doing a longer one with you next time. Take care.